We all know that the world's reserve currency is US dollars, but what if I told you that soon, Russia could control the entire world? You might think, nah, this boy's crazy, that could never happen, but it could be closer than you think, thanks to something called BRICS. More on this later. The US dollar has been the global reserve currency since it was formally introduced in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference. This is when 44 nations came together and agreed to make the International Monetary Fund and create the World Bank. Originally, the US dollar was backed by gold, which gave it its validity, but over the years, due to inflation because of the Fed printing so much damn money, this is not so much the case anymore. On the other hand, Russia has been stockpiling gold for the past few years, with the majority of it being absorbed into its banking system. This is noteworthy because the US dollar is the global reserve currency right now because it has the largest gold reserves of any country, but with Russia and China substantially increasing their gold reserves, they are putting themselves in a very good economic position to be able to take that throne away from the US dollar. So why is this new currency even happening? Well, basically the countries included in BRICS have had enough. Enough of being controlled by the Western world, enough of the sanctions, enough of the political issues, just all of it. In 2014, the US implemented the de-dollarization initiative on Russia. Now this sanction was placed on them over the diplomatic breakdown of the Crimea situation. And this was the start of a sanction that would continue to eat Russia's ability to grow moving forward. The United States has repeatedly banned Russia from using the US dollar, and given that the American currency is the most used in international trade, with even payments in local currencies often converted to their US equivalent, being a slave to the dollar would and has caused a breakdown in nearly all Russian trade. So, what is BRICS trying to do? In simple terms, they are trying to make a new international reserve currency free from the sanctions of the US, with Putin saying this at a meeting. The issue of creating an international reserve currency based on a basket of currencies of our countries is being worked out. Looking at the data, already you can see countries pulling away from the US dollar, especially between Russia and China, where their trade using the US dollar has fallen to 46% in the year 2020, as opposed to holding at a steady 90% 5 years ago. This clearly highlights their intentions to try and get away from the US dollar as much as they can. It's not just Russia that wants to change. There are other countries included in BRICS that also want to move away from the US dollar and improve their own currency. The abbreviation BRICS stands for the countries wanting to change, and it includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Adding all the countries in BRICS together, the estimated total population is 3.21 billion, which is enormous. It's about 41.5% of the total world's population. 4 out of the 5 members are amongst the world's largest countries in both population, area, and GDP, gross domestic product. So they most definitely have the power to change things. Putin has also said we are ready to openly work with all fair partners. He added, additionally, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia are considering joining the BRICS group. So how viable is it that the dollar will get dropped? Well, it's not going to happen overnight, let's put it that way. I could see it where in the East they do use this currency as a replacement for the US, and especially within the countries included in the BRICS. And like I said before, this can already be seen happening between China and Russia. In 2019, Russia and China signed a treaty to use national currencies in mutual trading. This added to the gradual reduction in the dollar's traffic from 90% in 2015 to only 46% in the year 2020. And let's not pretend that the US dollar is perfect. The amount of inflation that's going on because of all the printing of the money, it's only going to get worse. The two good things going for the US dollar is the first and the biggest one being that it's the only way you can buy oil is in US dollar, and the second is it has the largest gold reserve out of any country. But as soon as that changes, then it's lost that edge already, and it's kind of already done that in the US dollar. There's more money than there is gold, so it's not really backed by it anymore. It used to be, but it's not the case anymore. We have already established that the US has a lot of gold, but we've also established that Russia has been growing their reserves very quickly. The US is number 1 with 8,133 tons of gold, and Russia is at number 5 with 2,299 tons. However, Russia has been the largest purchaser of gold in the last 7 years, purchasing 274 tons in 2018 alone. If this continues and Russia is able to get more gold than the US, then that's a very strong economic position to be in for Russia. Then all that US dollar has left after that is the oil, which again is a finite resource, which when that's gone, then what will the US have? Now, no one knows for certain how long oil is going to be around for. Some predict it to be around for 47 more years. However, I personally think it'll be around for a lot longer than that. It'll just be harder to find and cost a lot more to extract it. So what does this all mean? Well, for now, international banking reserve structures are more than 60% dollar based, and more than 60% of Russia's exports use the US dollar, and a third of the imports use the US dollar. Oil and gas contracts are also done using the currency, and a fifth of all bank deposits carried out in Russia are done using the dollar as well, although that trend has been declining since the start of 2020. So it's clear that the US dollar still has a big impact on Russia. However, they are trying to do everything they can to get away from that situation. On a separate note, but worth a mention, Russia has stated that they wish to leave the ISS space station after the year 2024. The International Space Station was approved to operate until 2024, so Russia won't be doing anything wrong by leaving. However, the US wants to continue for 6 more years. At a meeting with Vladimir Putin, Mr. Borisov said Roscosmos would fulfill its obligations to its partners, but the decision had been taken to quit the project after the year 2024. He then went on to say, "I think that by this time we will start putting together a Russian orbital station," adding that the new station was his agency's top priority, with Putin saying, "Good." Saying this, former ISS commander and retired US astronaut says it's very unlikely that Russia will decide to go through with this action. He went on to say, "I think this is a posturing by the Russians. They don't have the money to build their own station, and it would take several years to do it. They've got nothing else if they go down this route." NASA has not yet received a confirmation whether they are going to do this or not, so it's all up in the air at the minute. So that's it. I hope you got some value out of this video. I couldn't believe no one was talking about this. It was such an important thing that's going on in the world, but I couldn't see any YouTuber covering it. I know Andrew Jick has now recently touched on it a bit with his video. It took a hell of a lot of research to compile all this information together, so I'd really appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, as it really helps out the channel and the algorithm favours it heavily. And as a reward, here's your quote of the day. "Tough times never last, but tough people do." And with that being said, peace out.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.